What's up, dream builder? Are you someone who's interested in creating a life by your design through all things real estate? Well, I can assure you, you are in the right place. Join me, your host, Casanova Brooks. I'm an award-winning real estate agent and investor as we uncover the top tips, strategies, and the mindset of the top real estate entrepreneurs across the world. Stay locked in because we're about to go on a journey that will change your life. What's up, DreamNation? We are back again with another real estate episode, and I'm excited to bring this one to you because we have a man who has been a legend and a staple in the real estate community for many of years. And we have on the show today my friend, Mr. Danny Morel. Danny, you want to go ahead and say what's up to DreamNation?
What's going on, DreamNation? How are you guys?
Man, it's a pleasure to have you here. Now, for anybody who's not familiar with your story, I always love to give the proper introduction. And I know that there's a lot of people out here that are wondering how they can live a life by their design, which is what I've learned from you. And so the way that I like to do that is I compare us, real estate agents, brokers, and even entrepreneurs to superheroes. Why? Is because we're flying around the world, we're putting on our cape, and we're trying to solve the biggest problems. And so behind every Superman, we know that there's a Clark Kent. And so I would ask you, behind the Superman known as Danny Morel, who is that Clark Kent?
Yeah, that's a good question, man. And I think the way that I could best answer that is my life has radically changed in the last 2 years. And so who was that Clark Kent 2 years ago was completely different. 2 years ago, he was arrogant. He was egotistical. He was focused on himself. And yet he didn't realize that any of this was going on. And so who am I today, man? I'm love. That's who I am. I'm love. And when you are loved and when you really are connected with yourself, man, money and everything that you want to accomplish, that's all easy. That just is literally just attracted to you like a magnet. And so if you were to ask me who is Clark Kent, I'm love. That's it.
Got it. Now, let me ask, what was the epiphany? What was the pivot or the shift? Because if you said you had the world in your hands before and you were more egotistical, was there a crash that happened, or what made you have this shift to find your true self?
Yeah, there's a quote that says, man will find himself when he knows he is going nowhere and has nowhere to go. And that's what happened to me. At the time, I was going through a divorce, which if you follow my story on Instagram, my ex-wife Claudia and I are still, like, we love each other, we care for each other. We're actually going on vacation together with the kids this weekend. We have a very interesting dynamic for sure. But I was going through a divorce, and this was a couple years after my mother had passed away. And so I just got to a place in my life, Casanova, where I literally was like, there's something more to life. There's more. It's like we do $1 billion a year in real estate sales. So what does that matter if I'm overweight, I'm unhappy, I'm miserable inside? And I had just sold my dream home. We had built our dream home on over an acre, beautiful house. And I was in a little apartment because through the transition of the divorce, I was going through this. And I remember, man, I would just cry there at night because I was uncomfortable with being alone. I was uncomfortable with being like just by myself. I needed someone around. I needed a relationship. I needed a bottle of alcohol. I needed all the things that human beings need just to be. And that's why I was able to disconnect from my mind and just to start to really see, like, why is that? Why am I so uncomfortable with this process right now? What's going on inside of me? And that's where my journey began, man. Really. Yeah, that's where it began.
And I think that's so critical to hear because obviously right now we're living in a time where there's so much uncertainty, there's so much fear, and there's so much resentment. But when we put it back, it's really a lot of we're not loving ourselves. And so my question to you is, for someone else that's listening to this, how much of it was you finding you, or was it your surroundings? Did you have friends? Did you have family that says, hey, Danny, look at where you're going. This is not the route that I know that you want for yourself. Or was it just you talking to your spiritual God?
No, yeah, it was me finding me, because the other thing about it is that we are the creator. We are the conductor. We're like literally we're a magnet. And so all of the friends that we have in our lives, all of the circumstances that we're faced with, all of the situations, all the money we have or not have, all the relationships we have or not have, all the lifestyle choices we're able to make or not make, that is all 100% a reflection of what's going on inside. And so, yeah, it was me really needing to search for me, basically.
Got it. Now, one of the things that you've been able to do is be able to coach and invest and empower so many real estate agents and brokers all across the world. And my question to you is, right now, there's a lot of people that are thinking about getting into real estate. Do you think that it's still the best time to get into real estate right now? Or with there being so many other opportunities, would you advise somebody else to maybe look at a different path?
No, I could honestly say I think being a real estate agent is probably the quickest way for a hardworking, dedicated, and focused individual to create wealth for them and their family, to be financially free. And I would say that regardless of what's going on in the outside world, regardless of right now we're dealing with COVID or the election or whatever is going on, if you are able to focus yourself on what you want to accomplish, that real estate license gives you the ability and the power to go out and accomplish it. That's what that does, quite frankly. And so, yeah, I would say no. I would say absolutely go for it.
Got it. And for people that, okay, say, you know what, I am going to go for it. But my biggest thing is I don't know where to start. And I know that you see this a lot of the times where you get a brand new agent, they are excited about real estate, but they can't necessarily produce. What has been the tips that you've given so many people that early on in their career, they can hit the ground running? Is there one or two things that they should be focusing on to drive that business?
Yeah, that's a great question, Casanova. I was pretty fortunate. And when I say I was fortunate, because I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. It was literally myself, my mom, and my two younger brothers. And we were dirt poor. We were on welfare. We lived in a little two-bedroom apartment in the hood and the whole thing. And I say I was fortunate because there was no going back. There was no second option. I had no choice. There was no hero coming. My dad wasn't around. You know what I'm saying? If something was going to change in our lives, I was going to have to be the one changing. Period. End of story. And so I say this all the time. I say pressure is a privilege. And I say that because it truly is. It's a privilege to have pressure on you. Because that pressure is going to do one of two things. It's either going to make you or it's going to break you. And I just decided to make me into who I am today. And so I would say, number one, anyone out there listening to me can make their first commission check in 90 days, cold turkey, if they do what I'm about to tell them to do. Number one, burn the boats. There's no plan B. If you're going to do this, you're going to do this with all your heart and soul. That's it. And that energy and that decision and that choice will change everything. It will change who you meet, who you don't meet. Remember, you're the conductor. You're the source. So I would say that's number one, okay? I would say number two, work 7 days a week for 90 days. See, now this is where it gets tricky, Casanova, because I'm telling you the keys to success, and yet most people don't want to pay the price for success. That's where we as human beings have to make a decision. We have to make a decision. I was listening to I just got goosebumps because I was just listening to Kobe, who I had him at my event literally 6 months before he passed. And he was at Snoop's house and he was kind of teaching Snoop's son. And Kobe told him something. He said, you're either going to be the lion or the gazelle. He says, I tell my daughters this all the time. You can be the lion or the gazelle. He says, it's fine. Whatever you want to choose, I'm still going to love you. But if you're going to be the gazelle, you better be the fastest gazelle out there. Because if not, a lion's going to eat you. And I would say that's the same advice and the same thing I would tell your listeners is you got to realize you're either going to be the lion or the gazelle in this business. And if you decide to be the lion, then the lion's going to go out and do whatever he or she has to do to go make it happen, especially at the beginning. Number three, spend 80% of your time prospecting. If you spend 80% of your time searching for business and 20% of your time servicing the business that you get, that's when you'll start building momentum to make money. You see, the reality is nobody should be afraid. Nobody should be worried. Nobody should be feared with doubt that they're not going to make it in real estate. Because making in real estate is a choice, just like making it in life is a choice, just like being happy is a choice. Just you are the one. You're the one. You're the one that makes the decision. And I would say it all starts with that decision, and from there it goes from there.
Man, I think that's so powerful for anybody who knows my story. It's the exact same thing, right? I made the choice, losing everything within a matter of a couple weeks, mom, house, job. And then within that next 9 months, 46 deals, $8 million in volume, rookie of the year, brand new to real estate. We have such a similar background. But I think that the number one thing that you said there was you have to make a choice. And I think that's so big because people, they don't burn the boats when they get into real estate. They still keep that job. And I think that allows you to feel like I could be a part-time agent. And if you do that, you get part-time results.
It's interesting you say that because we coach a lot of people. Right now in my program Leverage, we've got people selling 380 homes a year. And it's not just the number. Here's the kicker. They're only working 4 days a week to make that happen. Okay? So that's what's possible for all of you listening. And yet, it's interesting you say that because at the beginning, if we're speaking to a new agent in our company or we're speaking to someone coming into our coaching program or that wants to inquire about the coaching program, and I ask them and I say, how many homes a year are you selling? And they say 5. I know the game. So I know the game. So I know wherever you are in the country, 5 means, depending on where you're at in terms of price ranges, between $30,000 a year to $50,000 a year in income, give or take, unless you're in the high end. So then I know, well, you can't really live off that. And if you can't live off that, then without even asking you, I know you have a secondary source of income. And 9 times out of 10, Casanova, here's what happens when people are having a hard time breaking out of their shell or really making it in the business. I can just ask 1 or 2 questions and really find out the root cause. And the root cause is typically a secondary income. They don't have to. And when you don't have to, you won't. Plain and simple, you won't.
Right. Man, I think that's so critical. The second thing that a lot of people are wondering, but for people to prospect or search for 80% of the time and then service the other 20% of the time, that comes with a lot of discipline and the power of delegation. And I think for a lot of agents that get in, that becomes a problem. Like one of the first things that I heard from one of my mentors, they said, if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant. And I was like, wow, a lot of agents, they struggle, especially new agents, with getting that help. How have you been able to get people over the hump of understanding that you need a team? It doesn't need to be agents under you, but at least admin and people like that can help you service the business.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have a very detailed roadmap that you follow. And depending on how many units you're closing per year, then that should trigger certain decisions that you need to make in your business. So, for example, I would say right away, everybody can afford a transaction coordinator. Because a transaction coordinator is somebody that is typically provided to you by your broker. They have a TC in the office, you pay per file. I would say that's the first hire you need to make right away. Okay? Because you only pay them when the money comes in. And so that's the first hire we teach. Start using the TC that is in your office. And that's it. So that's the first one. Now, the second one is the assistant. Now, here's the kicker, Casanova. You really don't need an assistant until you're closing about 25 deals a year. Okay? Outside of that, you can do it on your own. Okay? Problem is, most people that start off in the business and they're closing 25 deals a year, 70% of that business is buyer-based instead of seller-based. And so what we work with people doing is, you're ever going to have any leverage, any freedom, or if you're ever going to scale your business, you have to convert that into a listing-based business. See, because nowadays people take the shortcut. So what do? They go spend money on Zillow or Redfin or whatever, Boomtown or whatever's out there, and they get all these leads and then they dish them out to people. You're at the mercy of the market like that. You have no inventory. You need to take listings. So we teach people how to really learn the skill of taking listings. Because imagine, Casanova, imagine at my prime, you'll appreciate this. By myself, I was taking 8 to 12 listings a month.
Oh yeah.
Now just think about that. Just think about that.
Were you in LA? Were you in
Southern California, 8 to 12 listings a month. That's 100 listings a year, 120, 130 listings all day long. Do you know how many times the phone rings just from sign calls? How much leverage that gives you in open houses? Do you know now if you want to advertise on Facebook, you can advertise your own inventory to the community? See, it's a game changer.
What's up, Dream Builder? I hope that you're getting a lot of value from this episode. Note takers are money makers. So I hope that you're taking lots of notes, and I hope that you'll implement something that will help to change your real estate career. If you want even more access, even more resources, and you want a community to help keep you accountable, well, I want to invite you to head on over to DreamNationAcademy.com. Again, that's DreamNationAcademy.com. That's where I hang out as well as the team, and we host so many resources to help you along your real estate journey. So again, that's DreamNationAcademy.com. Let's go ahead and hop back on into it.
The problem is the mindset. No one wants to put in the work. And there's 2 types of work that you need to do. Number 1 is your psychology. You got to see yourself as a leader. You got to see yourself as being able to close. Opening a door for a buyer, there's no sales in that. There's no skills in that. There's really no effort in that. You just drive them around and open the door. They just say, I like the house. And you go, cool, sign here. That's it. That's all you do. That's all you do. And so that's the first lie that people fall into in our industry. They think, oh, wow, I make $100,000 a year. Things are going great. You don't know how to sell yet. You know how to sell when you can meet someone cold turkey and you can convince them to sit down with you and invite you into their home or now on Zoom, and you can grab a pen and you can get a signature on a contract. I'll tell you a quick story real fast to show you the power of sales skills. Yeah. I'm on the phones, I'm making phone calls, I'm calling expired listings. At the time, I'm like, I don't know, I'm like 26, whatever the case may be. And I'm on the phones. I used to dial with 2 headsets. I had 2 little custom keypads. They look like this. And I would dial on one, press mute, ask a question to both of them, press mute, listen to the answer, unmute one, talk to one, mute this one, talk to this one, mute this one. It was just back and forth. 2 headsets, right? I had it custom made. And I would just wait till the conversation was getting hot with one, and I would hang up with one and then just like dial the next phone number and start the new conversation over there. And then every once in a while, I'd have a hot one and I would just focus on this one, right? Sure enough, I got a hot one. She goes, oh, you know what, son, you sound so sweet. But the thing is, I'm going to relist. They're coming at 12 o'clock. It was 9 in the morning. Casanova, tell me right now, how many people, 10 agents, would go, oh, okay, good luck. And if you need any help next time, just give me a call. How many out of 10?
10, for sure.
It's 10 out of 10. Right. It's like 10 out of 10. You know what I'm saying? It's like nobody pushes to try to find the angle. Casanova, I arrived at that house at 10 in the morning, an hour later. I set the appointment. I took the listing. I handled the objection of what am I going to tell the other agent. I was out of there by 11:20 a.m. with a listing.
Wow.
Why? Because I knew how to think and I knew how to talk.
Right.
Do you know how much business is literally, how much money we're losing because we have the wrong psychology and the wrong skill set? That if we could fix those 2 things, your life will change and never be the same. And that's why, to answer your original question, that's why people have a hard time when it is time to hire an assistant, because they think from fear. Yeah, they don't see themselves as leaders.
Right.
They don't see themselves as being able to handle the responsibility. Shit, I got to make money for myself and my kids. Now I got to make money for you and your kids too. It's like this fear-based psychology that people are in. That's what we specialize in. We specialize in helping real estate professionals unlock their true potential mentally through our retreats and our programs, and on a daily basis, show them how to sell so they can take listings and start working with so many buyers or delegate the buyers.
Man, I love it. I love that story. And you hit right on the head. So many people, they operate out of fear. They have a scarcity mindset. And that's why they never hit those goals and dreams, because any real estate agent or even a broker, when they first get in, you get in because you have big dreams. You want financial freedom. You want to be able to empower other people underneath you, but then you're operating in fear. So you never get there and you get stuck being a solopreneur, or you get stuck chasing that rabbit wheel of buyers or cancels or something like that. So I'm glad you brought that up. I want to ask, for your journey now, it's been an amazing one. Anybody who's listening at this, they're inspired and they love what you have to say. But if you could look back over your last, let's even go just 10 years. I know you've been doing it a lot longer. If there was one thing that you wish you would have implemented sooner to accelerate your dream, what would that thing have been?
Don't spend so much money on bullshit. So let me teach you all something. So many of us, especially, I don't like using this word because it's not true. Okay, so I'm not going to even use it. I'm not going to use the M word. But society would call people of the skin color of you and I a certain word that starts with an M. You follow me?
Yeah, yeah.
Number one, that is complete make-believe. That there is no difference in white, brown, black, Hispanic, Asian. We're all human beings. Okay, so you have to really buy into that. Because if you don't, your perspective of the world and your place in the world is being altered by someone else's conditioning. So I'm telling you that right now. This might upset you if you're Hispanic. I don't see myself as Hispanic. I don't. I'm a human being. Okay, so that's number one. So what happens is, or when we don't have love in our life, our ego creates a story. And the story is that we are either not worthy, and so we want to become worthy. We've been let down, and so now we want to show the world that we've made it. And so you finally start to make money, and what do you go out and do? Please listen to me, everyone, because society thinks this is normal. You go out and buy a Mercedes. You go out and buy a Rolex. You go out and buy a Louis Vuitton bag. You go out and buy gold glasses. You go out and buy a Hermes belt. You go out and buy fucking shoes with a Gucci emblem on them that are going to cost you $2,000, but you can buy a pair of shoes for $200. You go out and literally, please listen to me, please, all of you, you are programmed to do this. Being used as a tool and a vehicle to get wealthy. Brands like Gucci, brands like Louis Vuitton, brands like Mercedes, where you should be getting your family wealthy.
Facts.
And that is an issue of programming, that you have to go inside of yourself to understand what is wrong inside of me that makes me need these things. Now, you could be listening to me right now because I was that guy. And I'd be saying, yeah, but it's okay because I make the money and I can do it, and so forth and so on. No, I humbly come to you and tell you. I was a guy that had I still have it, it's in my safe, a $35,000 watch, gold. What is it? The Rolex Sky Dweller. I can't even wear it now. I feel like an idiot wearing it. Why? Because I found myself.
Love it.
See, when you find yourself, you realize you don't need the things that the world tells you you need. I was sitting next to Kobe Bryant. And I happened to peek over, I'm interviewing him. Here's a man that's worth probably, 50 times more than what I'm worth, 100 times, whatever. I'm sitting there, he's such a beautiful human being who had found himself. And I look over on his wrist, and you know what he's wearing? He's wearing an Apple Watch. He's wearing an Apple Watch, and here I am interviewing him in a rose gold Rolex. And he's worth 100 times more than I'm worth. Right. What is the problem in that? Here's what it is. And it's not to say that he doesn't own them. And it's not to say that there's anything wrong with it. What's wrong with it is, why do we feel that we need it? That's the question. That's the question. That's the question we have to answer as human beings. Why are we programmed to go out and make money to simply go spend it on things to validate our existence? And until you answer that question, you're not free. You're not free.
Let me, and this is, I know we're coming up to the end of our time, but this is so amazing because I want to ask you, I think for somebody that's listening right now, they're saying, okay, that's great, Danny, but you've already made it though. And when you were younger, you did buy those things. So then you had to go through the experience to come out on the other side and understand. But how can I still want to experience what you experienced when you were 26, 27? I don't know when the end of my time is coming. So how do I get to experience that now with me trying to find myself as well?
A beautiful question. And I would say first you need to identify with what you actually want to experience. Let me give you this example. My last home, my last home was on 1.2 acres, beautiful, custom built Spanish, Italian, the whole works. Over 5,000, 6,000 square feet, whatever it is, I don't know. But it wasn't my home. It didn't feel like my home. And I started to look back at all of the homes I had ever built. They were all big. They were all fancy. They were all, quote unquote, either mansions or mini mansions or whatever you want to call it. But none of them felt like my home. And I started asking myself why. It was simple. I didn't know who I was. Therefore, I didn't know what I wanted. You don't really know what you want until you find out who you are. Because everything you think you want has been programmed inside of you by society, by the ads, and so forth and so on. So now I live in a home that is smaller, but to me, I love it. It's my home. It's my home. And so I do understand that there's a balance. But I will tell you, if you want to cut to the chase, just start to really look at the decisions you make and ask yourself, is this an ego decision or a heart decision? Because what we're really looking for is not the brand. We're looking for the feeling.
Right.
And the feeling of freedom is what we're all really looking for. The freedom to be able to do whatever we want to do. And all I'm going to say is the minute that you get into debt over something, material, whatever the case may be, you're actually doing the opposite. You're putting yourself not in freedom, but in bondage, so that you have to work twice as hard now to pay the thing. And then what happens when you pay the thing? I'm going to tell you what happens. Your ego wants another thing.
Right.
So it's a never-ending cycle, my man. It's a never-ending cycle. And it's the human conditioning, and it's the human conditioning that we all have to learn to break through.
Yeah, no, I think I'm so glad that you clarified that. And what I took away from it is just up front, we all want to experience so many things. Just like you said, we want that feeling. But if we could just identify who do we want to become, right? At the end of the day, all of the things, those won't matter. But at the end of the day, who do we want to become? Because then you can ask yourself, does this thing help me become more of that person? Or am I just chasing an emotion and really not putting logic into it? Because sometimes with that logic, the toughest part is that discipline is involved with that logic. And we don't want to really have discipline in life. We want to be, like you said, free. And we look at free, that means no discipline. There's no structure. So I could just do all these things. But then we start to go back down that rabbit hole. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I want to say thank you again, my brother. I look forward to watching your progression, helping many more agents just like myself, inspiring and giving so much wisdom. The last thing I'll just say is for anybody out there that's listening at this and they say, you know what, I love what he said, but I don't think that I'm strong enough. I don't think that I'm smart enough, or maybe I just don't have enough resources. What's that one thing that you would tell them to just take action?
Yeah, I would say the action is not where it's at. I would say the being is where it's at. 3 words, write them down. Be, do, have. And so many people live from the do, right? In order for you to do anything, in order for you to take action, in order for you to go out there and make it happen, you first got to decide who you're going to be. And the word you said, maybe they're out there and they think I just don't have what it takes, or whatever the case may be. That's a being choice. It's a negative being choice, but it is a being choice. And I would leave your listeners with this is no matter what you believe, religiously or spiritually, I think that we can all agree that we are creations of God and therefore we are made in the image of God. And I just need to challenge you. If you're made in the image of God, does God doubt? Does God have worry? Does God have fear? And if he doesn't, why should you?
There you have it. For anybody who wants to stay connected with you, we'll make sure we put all of the links to your coaching and to your profiles in the show notes. But where can they find you at?
Yeah, that's a great question. By the way, Casanova, I'm going to tell you, I'm really impressed with you. I like you so much. Would you mind sending me this copy? I'm going to put this on my show.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think this was a good one for people to hear. But DannyMorel.com is getting a facelift right now.
Okay.
My Instagram is my easiest place, Danny Morel, DANNYMOREL. And then we just launched for those of you that are interested in our coaching programs, would love to get to know you and talk to you. You go to DannyMorel.com for that. But we just launched our first ever week-long retreat. The next one's going to be in Tulum, Mexico, January 24th through the 30th. Casanova, I think that's a great place for you to go to.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a beautiful experience. And that's at journeytohigherself.com. So check it out.
Journey to Higher Self, HIGHER.
Yeah. But Instagram, just everybody go to Instagram and from there you'll find everything else.
Cool. Again, DreamNation, just as he said, you have to figure out who you are for you can first. It's not about the action, which normally that's what we say, but I love the spin on it. It's about the being, right? And so to get to the action, you have to first figure out who we're trying to become and get in that being, because otherwise that dream that you have will only merely be a fantasy. That's all we have for this one. We'll catch you on the next one. First, I want to say thank you for allowing me to walk with you on this real estate journey. If you've gotten anything out of this episode, do me a favor and head on over to iTunes if you have access and leave me a review. My whole goal is to make sure that I'm serving you all the right way. You're my tribe. You're who I care about. You're why I do this. So if you want to give me any type of thanks, or if you want to let me know whatever your thoughts or your feelings are from this episode or any other episode that you've listened to, leave me a rating or review. And also, if you're looking for more tips, strategies, and even resources when it comes to leveling up your real estate game, head on over to DreamNationAcademy.com. We have a really cool real estate section there, and it's something that I wish that I would have had when I first got started in real estate. So that's DreamNationAcademy.com. Don't wait. I'll see you on the other side.